conceptual perspective. Things people talk about a desire to be successful. All of the elements they think intelligence.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. I hope that everybody is having an awesome day as we wind down this particular week in January. I hope that the week went according to plan, but if not, don't allow it to toss you and send you into any type of frenetic response. Understand that you are going to meet challenges, you're going to experience delay, you're going to have frustrating moments. It's a part of life. If it weren't for these challenges that you're experiencing, you couldn't grow. It is being challenged by the unknown, challenged by the opposition, challenged by difficulty that you develop confidence, that you develop an awareness of yourself and your potential and the possibilities that you have for your life. It is not in the corner of comfort that you progress. It is in the midst of adversity. And so don't be shaken by the things that you're going through. I can tell you this, and then I'm going to get to why I'm here, which sort of kind of ties into what I'm sharing now. But I want you to enter into this with the right mindset. Uh, right around the end of November, definitely the end of October, definitely the beginning of November, started to experience a lot of pushback in my life as far as the way the flow of my momentum was going in a bunch of areas of my life, in business and finance and a bunch of things, And, the thing is, I can tell you is when you're teaching something and you stand on it and you believe it, you're going to be challenged to live it. And it's not always pretty. It doesn't always line up. It doesn't always find. It's good when you can see people that tell you, just do this. And it looks like their life is just perfect. What I can tell you is I've experienced a lot of success and I've never found that perfect life. I've never found the person who lived that perfect life where they weren't challenged. I have known and been around too many millionaires to mention. And I can tell you there are times they're as stressed out about their finances as those who are earning a lot less and living off of a lot less. While it may be different situations and circumstances, the problem still exists. There can be cash flow problems for people who have millionaire status. Your assets are not always liquid. They're not always fluent. It happens. And I can tell you, you have to be able to handle the pressure. You have to be able to handle the difficulty. And I love talking about it. I'm not happy with how things have been going, but what is crazy to me is how many people that I'm close to. My best friend and I were talking last night. He was telling me, man, this spiritual weight that I've been experiencing for the last couple of weeks. And then I'm talking to other people and they're telling me the same. I haven't identified the source or the origin, but I tell you, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that there's always a cause for the effect that you're experiencing, and you have to identify it. Sometimes it's a bad decision. Sometimes it's an opposition. It's an oppositional force. Do you realize having people in your life that really don't want to see you succeed is inviting their energy in to disrupt what you're trying to do in your life? And while you can still push through it because you have the ability to overcome and to transcend negative energy in your life, it makes it so much more difficult when you have to do that. You want positive people. You want people who speak into your life. You want people who believe in you. You want people who hold you accountable, but also remind you of just how exceptional you are, how capable you are. You want that in your life. You're going to determine just how hard your climb to the pinnacle of your potential will be. So I want to encourage you in that area. I want to remind you before I get to this lesson, it's going to be a quick one. I got some things I got to get to. But I want to remind you about the new consulting and coaching subscription, a way now that you can get coaching engagement, one-on-one consultations, one-on-one counseling with yours truly by having a monthly subscription to it. Now, it doesn't provide you with the all-out access of the people who are buying my flagship packages, but it does give you access. It also gives you access to group support, gives you access to Critical Mass, which is my 20th book. That comes as a part of the situation, ongoing support, and After 6 months in the program, you qualify to get one of the packages at half price. That's a new element that we sit down and we talked about, and we decided to add that you have, after 6 months in, you have the ability now to sign up for a package at half price. Obviously, like all others, it has to be paid in full up front, but it's definitely a way to get in the door, get some access, and then get to a point to where you can now get all out access on a weekly basis. But anyway, click the link, go check it out, find out what it's about, and subscribe. For what you're getting for each month, it more than pays for itself, and you should be able to see the value if you understand the power of engaging someone who can help you with your mental processes, help you with your coping mechanisms, help you establish a new way of thinking and ideas that will lead to better things, help you plan out the next year of your growth process and elevation in every area. In that note, I'm gonna get off of it and I'm gonna get right to it because, again, like I said, I have some things to get to, but I just want you to check that out and look at the other resources while you're checking out the description box. That's baby. Anyway, but all right. Today's topic: no surrender, no retreat. Resilience is the name of the game. One of the most exciting things for me is to visit a place that I've spoken at before, especially if I like it. It's an organizational place where pretty much the same people will be there each time. You know, churches, organizations, community groups, chambers of commerce. I mean, just different places that I've had the privilege of speaking, schools, and things of that nature, where you can go back within a reasonable time and you'll get a lot of the people that were there the first time. It's so energetic when I go back because almost every time that I return to a place that I've been before and I'm announced and I'm walking out on the stage, people start to chant and to scream, no surrender, no retreat. It's a mantra of mine. It's how I live my life. No surrender, no retreat. I'm never going to give up and I'm never going to retreat back. And I want to talk to you about it from a principle mindset. While I'm using a biblical excerpt from the book of Hebrews, I don't want you to get tied up so much in the religious elements of it, because I'm real big on having that one-on-one with God. And when you start getting religious elements, it starts to allow you to seek approval and approbation from others within your group. And I think it's really important that you seek the approval and approbation of the supreme source, and that's God, the Most High. I'm real big on that one-on-one intimacy. And so I like to look at it as a guide, a blueprint. And you can find it in other areas, but since most people are going to have some knowledge and understanding of the Bible, I thought this would be a great opportunity to use it to hammer home this idea. So I'm going to read it and then I'm going to break it down real briefly and we're going to be out of here, right? This is Hebrews chapter 10, starting with the 35th verse. We're going to go through the 39th verse. It says, therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which has great reward, but you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what was promised. Remember, I talk to you all the time about process preceding promise, but let's keep going. It says, for yet in a very little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. But my righteous one shall live by faith. And if he shrinks back, come on now, my soul has no pleasure in him. But we are not of those who shrink back to destruction. In older versions, like the King James Version, it says to perdition, ultimate or utter destruction. But to those who have faith, to the preserving of the soul. Let's look at it, and we're going to walk through it real quick, and then we good. But I want you to understand this: no surrender, no retreat. What that means to me is that I'm in something to accomplish something, and difficulty was a part of the contract before I started. See, I had to have an understanding of what I was getting myself into. And I had to make a commitment that no matter what, I'm going the distance. No matter what, I'm not giving in. I'm not giving up. I'm not falling back. I'm not shrinking back. I'm not here for comfort. I'm here to complete the work that my gifting has revealed to me I'm responsible for doing. I discovered my purpose inside of my gifting, and because I know why I'm here, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability each and every day. That's why I wake up every morning and I tell you that I live my life on full, so that I can die on E. It's not about living the ideal perfect life. It's not always about being in the best place at the blessed time. It's not always about making all the right decisions. It's about simply saying, I have a goal, and no matter what happens, sometimes it's opposition. I said that earlier today. Sometimes there are some people who are aware of who you are and the impact that you're having, and they don't like you for it. There are some people who simply are wishing and hoping for your demise. Literally, you got some people who call themselves Christians who are literally praying for your downfall. I mean, really asking God to disrupt what you're doing, and they don't even really know at the deepest level why they're doing it, and they convince themselves that they have a right to do it, and they're sending out an energy with these ideas and thoughts that could literally be disrupting your space, your periphery, because energy is physical. It's not some anomaly or abstract idea. It's physical. Spirituality is all about how energy moves. It's about being able to interpret energy, being able to literally communicate through energy. That's what it's about. It's about understanding. You can't hear from God if you're not on the right spiritual plane. It's not about a three-dimensional or audible communication. It's about a spiritual connectivity. You got to be where you're supposed to be, thinking how you're supposed to be thinking, behaving how you're supposed to be behaving, and you will be emitting an energy that puts you in the same plane with the Most High. That's when your discernment is going to be the highest. That's when you're going to be able to pick and make the best decisions. That's when you're going to have the highest level of self-confidence and so much more. When you are in line with the Spirit of God, you're in line with the mind of God. When you're in line with the mind of God, you start to understand that there's no problem you're going to face that you don't or will not have the answer to when the time comes. See, sometimes we're operating on our time trying to accomplish spiritual matters. And that's a frustrating thing, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? When you're sitting up and you're thinking with your physical mind, your carnal mind, and I'm not speaking from that with that highly religious mind. I'm talking about non-spiritual. When I say carnal, I mean non-spiritual. When you're thinking with your carnal mind and you're sitting up and you're working, and it says, I gotta have it today. But the spiritual elements involved is not operating. The spiritual elements are involved on exact, precise timing. Not what you think based off of your experience, which is highly limited when it comes to the mind of God. It's highly limited. So that's why you're consulting the mind of God for all things, because the mind of God knows all things. The last thing I say when I'm doing my confirmations in the morning, after morning prayer meditation, and then my affirmations, the last paragraph or stanza I speak says that no matter what obstacle or undesirable circumstance crosses my path, I refuse to accept it, because it is nothing but an illusion. There can be no obstacle or undesirable circumstance to the mind of God, which is in me and around me and serves me now. That's how I finished that particular part of that statement. It's saying that there's nothing that I'm going to face that the mind of God does not already have the answer to. Do you get where I'm going with that? But let's look at it. It says, therefore, you do not throw away your confidence, which has great rewards. You got to have a confidence, a belief, an expectation that no matter what you're going through, there's going to be a profitable, positive, and productive outcome. You're not going to judge future expectations based on current circumstances. You're going to allow the mind of God to communicate to you, to your spiritual being, your spiritual self, to the point that you can physically see it in the carnal mind, but in your spirit, you're disagreeing with it. Do you get what I'm saying? Are you catching on to what I'm talking about here? Okay, that's the beginning of what we're talking about. But then it goes on and says, for you have need of endurance, no surrender, no retreat, resilience. It's talking about pushing through things, not giving up, not turning around, not laying down, not quitting. You don't win because you're the smartest. You don't win because you're the fastest. You don't win because you know all the right people. You win because you refuse to quit. You refuse to lay down, turn around, give up, turn back. You have made up in your mind that you are fixed on a destination. You are fixed on something you are going to accomplish in your life that has greater meaning than yourself. Come on, work with me here. Has greater meaning than yourself, meaning you're going to somehow touch lives of people who are going to be blessed because you are overcoming this obstacle in your life. And in that, you're going to be able to bring them something that makes them better. And there's absolutely nothing that can stop you but you. You have need for endurance so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what was promised. See, that's that thing about process that I keep telling you. Process always precedes promise. There is always a need for you to be able to endure beyond what you are experiencing. See, process is the preparation to make sure that when the promise is delivered, you have the capacity to take in the promise. A lot of people ain't ready for what is promised, so they got to be prepared. That's why you get people who win the lottery and go broke within a short period of time, because they weren't prepared for what they received. See, the blessing isn't a blessing unless you're prepared for it. See, the blessing can be a curse if you're not prepared for it. Many people have been destroyed by things that other people would consider a blessing. You've got to prepare yourself, and that's the process. Process develops you. Then it says, for yet in a little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. There's this thing about delay that goes to the Bible. If you go to the book of Habakkuk, it talks about it again. It says, though it tarry, and that's the term that is used in an older text in this scripture. Though it tarry means that there's a delay. It will come. I tell people all the time, delay does not mean denial. So you got to learn how to understand a lot of the things you are learning in scripture if you're going to use scripture, because there are people who don't believe in God the way you do, but use the scripture because it's principally sound. And it existed long before the Bible. The Bible is, as it exists, is less than 2,000 years old. And people have been living by the principles in it for thousands of years prior to that. So you got to understand something. There is a principle of power all through it. Most miss it. Most miss it because they get caught up in the tenets of the religion and miss the power of faith and responsibility, and most important, relationship with God, the Most High, the Supreme. And it's sad because it leaves you hopeless and helpless. And I often ask, specifically Christians, because of the belief of the indwelling of God by way of the Holy Spirit, how is it that the most powerful force ever known resides inside of you, and you're constantly living a life of defeat? You're constantly acquiescing to the circumstances you encounter. You are now expecting nothing close to your full potential as you live your life. How is that representative of the God that you speak of? Because the God you speak of is all powerful. The God you speak of is all knowing. The God you speak of is in all places. There's absolutely nothing that confounds the God you speak of. So why do you seem so confused, perplexed, and held back? It's inside of you. It's right here. You've looking at all the wrong people, looking at the wrong circumstances, giving power to the things that are working against you instead of accessing the power within you to do exceptional and extraordinary things, and you're wondering why things aren't lining up. You're playing small. You're giving in to your circumstances. You are allowing a momentary interruption to define who you are. Let's move on a little bit more. It says, but my righteous one shall live by faith. And if he shrinks back, my favorite part, my soul has no pleasure in him. My righteous one shall live by faith. But if he shrinks back, I think the King James Version says draws back, my soul has no pleasure in him. And the King James says, my soul finds no pleasure in him. In other words, when someone draws back, it is a displeasure to God. When somebody quits and gives up, tosses away their faith and their confidence, and acquiesces and submits to the circumstance, it is a displeasurable experience to God. In fact, God can't find any pleasure in it. But, final verse. But we, the writer here, still not determined by theologians to be exact on who it is. Everybody from Barnabas to Paul and a few others have been listed as possible authors, but this is one of the books that the authorship is questionable. There are a lot of different ways that it's been studied and broken down and evaluated to try to determine the writer. No one's come to any conclusion. It wasn't signed. Okay, but it says, but we are not those who shrink back to destruction, or in the older versions, perdition, but those who believe and act in faith to the preserving of the preservation of the soul. In other words, we are believing to the depths of our inner being. We are sustaining and uplifting and healing ourselves through our perseverance, our expectations, our confidence, and our belief that it's already worked out. That what I'm experiencing in this moment isn't the end of the story. That the darkness that I'm enduring at this end and this moment isn't the end of the story, that there's something coming that will reward my perseverance. There's something that's coming that will reward my ability to stand firm. There's something that is coming that will reward me for not giving up and turning around, being a representation of what faith really means, being a representation of what resilience and perseverance and endurance really means. I am going to reap the reward of my perseverance because I refuse to quit. No surrender, no retreat. Some of you are dealing with some issues in your marriage. No surrender, no retreat. Some of you are dealing with financial difficulties, frustrations, setback, bills are due. No funding for your business ideas. Concerned about the upcoming and pending economic crisis. No surrender, no retreat. Some of you are dealing with issues with your children that are perplexing to you, that you don't seem to have the answer for. And it's frustrating you, it's scaring you, it's hurting you. No surrender, no retreat. Some of you have been on jobs that you can't stand, that you hate, that literally sucks the life out of you, and you don't have the answer of what the next step is, but you know there has to be something better. No surrender, no retreat. No surrender, no retreat. What am I getting at as I shut this down? Life isn't about ease. Winning in life isn't about the circumvention of life's vicissitudes, setbacks, disappointments, frustrations. Life isn't about that. This is about perseverance. It's about who's willing to go the distance, who's willing to stand up and say, no matter what, I'm not quitting. You've heard me say this more times than I care to even recall, that when I set my mind to do something, it's going to happen or I'm gonna die trying. That's my options. Get it done or die trying. We don't retreat. We don't revert to a plan B. We might shift processes or models or strategies, but if I say this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to die trying. That's the committed life. We have far too many people who aren't living committed lives. Far too many people who are content with falling back, with retreating, with surrendering to their circumstances, with throwing their hands up in the air and said, I don't know anything else to do, I tried, and just laying down and allowing life to roll over them. No, but see, the writer says we are not those who give up. We are not those who turn back. We are not those who surrender. We are not those who are going to allow life to dictate our movement. We are those who believe to the saving of the soul. We are those who believe that we're going to push on. We are those who believe that there is nothing that can stop me. I challenge you to live your life with a mindset of no surrender, no retreat. I challenge you to live with a resilience that says, as long as I'm breathing, I'm still in the fight. That no opposition, no circumstance, no situation is greater than the connectivity I have with the Most High. And that connectivity ensures I overcome. I challenge you to rise to the occasion. I challenge you to stand up and rise to the occasion of whatever it is you're facing. Rise to the occasion, meet it head on, stand up to it. It's not about comfort, it's about winning. This is something I'm going to share with you and I'll be done. I tell people all the time, you can't circumvent pain. You've heard me say that in this video. You cannot circumvent pain. It's coming. Pain is so pervasive in this world, you can't dodge it. You can't maneuver around it. It's going to hit you. It's going to find you. You can hide from it. It's coming into your hiding place. You can try to duck it. It'll move to the new location you ducked into. Pain will find you. That this world is built with full of pain. But see, pain is the place that you get to respond. And it's a resistance that if you respond to it correctly, it grows you. Now, while pain is inevitable, suffering is a whole different thing, and it's a choice. Suffering is when you decide to identify with the thing that caused the pain so much that it becomes a part of you. So now you're experiencing consistent, constant pain, constant frustration, constant anxiety, constant fear. All of these things are constant now, and you're suffering because it's constant. That's a choice, because you can set up and stand that this is a moment, but it doesn't define me. I'm coming out of it. And just the nature and mindset of knowing I'm coming out creates a mindset of joy, because what I'm going through is creating the capacity for what I'm about to experience. And so I'm going to live with gratitude. I'm going to live with joy. I'm going to live with a feeling of fulfillment, not because I dodged the pain, but because the pain cannot defeat me. And on that note, I want you to understand something. I know I said I was done, but I really want people to hear this that are still listening. I see a lot of people who claim a particular faith, not any particular faith, but a particular faith, meaning that I'm talking, not just talking to Christians, I'm talking to Buddhists, I'm talking to Hinduists, I'm talking to those who practice Islam. There are over 5,000 of them, as a matter of fact. But this is what I can tell you. If your faith has you in a place where you are constantly waiting on God, you're out of line. Let me explain myself a little deeper. James said, faith without works is dead. To simply believe something isn't faith. You have to believe something at a level that it drives you to action. It is, if you read the book, The Alchemist, there's a character, Christian, who is constantly through his actions and activity delivering a message that when you see something that you believe is for you and you make a personal commitment to pursue it, that the universe has no alternative but to respond by conspiring with you to bring it to you. What it's defining is faith. There's a book written by Wallace D. Wattles in 1906 called The Science of Getting Rich, but what it talks about is a substance in the universe that responds to thought, beliefs, and activity. In other words, you believing it alone does not set it in motion. See, a lot of you are sitting around waiting on God to fix what he designed you to do. You've heard me say this before. You've heard me say this on more than one occasion. No matter how hard you pray, I don't care how many scriptures you're able to quote to God in your prayer, God is never going to respond in the positive when you're asking him to deliver you from the giants he sits you to slay. There is a purpose in your life, and you don't get to step out of it. You can't disqualify yourself from it by stupid decisions. You cannot. There's something you're built for, and you're never going to be fulfilled and feel whole until you start walking in it. Some of you have the ability to inspire, empower, enlighten. Some of you have the ability to strategize and think conceptually. Some have the ability to think outside of the box and create new ideas out of nothing. Whatever your gift is, it has a purpose. It's bigger than you. It's about touching the lives of the people around you that you connect to, that matter to you, that you can relate to. They need to see you doing something so they know they have something to do. It's that type of thing. But you can't sit around waiting on God to do what he designed you to do. If God was going to do it, that wouldn't be humanity. It's time for you to tap into the God in you and execute. 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 Finally, no surrender, no retreat. As I always say, I'm going to live my life on full each and every day. When I leave this place, I will leave knowing I gave it everything I have. I will die on E. That's my goal in this life, is just living on full and dying on E. I don't want to take 1 ounce of potential into the next life, into the next situation and whatever, to the grave, whatever. I don't want to take it with me. I want to leave it where it was meant to be used. I want to put it into people, put it into children, put it into books, put it into lectures, put it into videos. I want to put it and touch and share. I stop along and I talk to people on the street that I don't know. I speak to people that everybody else avoids, because if I can just give them a little ray of hope and light, that may be the opening where things start to change in their lives. I refuse to sit by and be comfortable. Comfort is an illusion too. If things are comfortable, you should be very nervous. If everything is just smooth, comfortable, ain't nothing, but there's no push, no sense of urgency. You don't got that little uneasy feeling when you wake up. You should be nervous. Number one is your life is wasting away. If you're in comfort, you're not pushing. You're not getting your full potential, not even close. If you don't got a certain amount of people hating on you and not liking you, you're probably too ambiguous with who you are and trying to fit in wherever you go and satisfy whoever you're around to really truly be you. That's a miserable life. But on that note, look, I'm gonna step up here. Like I said, don't forget, if you've been talking about working with me, but the flagship packages that I have are a little pricey. This is a new subscription. The first link in the description box is going to be for the new subscription page that we have where you can subscribe. Once you subscribe, it's a monthly subscription. You can stop at any time, but we are asking people for a year commitment so they can see the difference. After 6 months being in, you can get one of the flagship packages at half price. You're going to get access on a monthly basis. You're going to have access to a private support group of nothing but people who have in some way worked with me. And you'll get the full, honest, hey, whatever. I have people show up on here. I don't know if she's still on here, but I know one was on here earlier. But the thing is, I want those who want to work with me to have as much of an opportunity to work with me is possible. Obviously, there are times I go speak in places and I don't charge anything. But when it comes to working one-on-one, because of the demand for my time, I have to put a value point on it, or people will start to devalue me. And I'm living a life where I have a family to look after and so much more to do and so much more I want to do. I'm not even close to what my vision is for my life as far as what I'm going to do and the impact I'm going to have. So I got to protect that. But I want to work with you. If you want to work with me, that's one way you can do it. Now, if you're ready to just jump into it, you can talk to me about one of the packages. They start from 12 weeks, that's the bronze package, and go all the way up to 52 weeks, that's the platinum package, and there, the silver and the gold in between. But anyway, and any way you do it, you're going to have to make a decision to push through. Surrendering and giving up and quitting is not an option. That's how you're going to make it to the things you're trying to do. Not by finding the perfect direction, the perfect opportunity, the perfect situation, none of that. You're wasting time trying to find the perfect opportunity or situation. It doesn't exist. You got to go out and create it. You got to go out and make it happen. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day. I'm out.
Here I come, ready or not. Frank Ocean made this record hot.
From a conceptual
Jay sounded better than Jay.
perspective, people talk
Real
about
talk,
it as
I ain't throwing shots. Careful who you